Well, good morning, everybody. And it's Teepa, and I have a guest. Now, this guest, I actually met the guest's mother before I met the guest, which was interesting. But what was interesting is Polly, who works with me and is my keeper of life and time and does reviews, had already reviewed the book when she got the request from her mom for Jenny to. It was very complicated, but really cool because that was the person I met in Maui, and I shared about the book already. So, hey, Jenny.
Hey, thanks so much for having me on. And yes, I'm so excited that you met my mom on Maui.
I know because you don't live on Maui.
No, I live in Oregon, but my mom lives in Maui, and
And I'm in
we
North Carolina, just so we're all clear.
yeah, we're like
This
coast to
triangle
coast.
sort of, and
Uh,
Polly's in Minnesota. So
oh, really? Oh, great. Yep, we're covering the whole country.
we're covering the country and the world sort of thing. We do it all over the place because aging happens everywhere.
Yeah.
Brain changes happen everywhere. Body changes happen everywhere. And the reality is kids are also everywhere, and so are parents.
Mhm.
But what isn't everywhere are grandparents sometimes anymore. We've moved away from these families where we have generation all in the same place
Yep.
to, even if we have generations all in the same place, some people are housed differently. It's not like everybody in a family home living
Yes.
together through our lifetimes together.
Mhm.
And so you came up with a book that spoke to where some people end up living
Mhm.
that typically kids don't have a lot of history with, and parents have an interesting history with.
Mhm.
Because I'll
Yep.
speak at some point during our conversation about my history with long term care,
Yeah.
first as a kid and then as a parent.
Yeah.
So, Jenny, tell us about yourself, first of all.
Yeah, of course. So my name's Jenny Abling. I've been working in long-term care for about 2.5 decades now. I got into it the way most people did, which was my grandma had dementia when I was a kid. She was like my idol. She's super like fabulous, styly, and I was going through a hard time in life anyways because my dad had passed away early and that was his mom. And then his mom had dementia and went through her journey on that. So then I was like, I need, like, you have that moment where you're like, what's my purpose? And I always come back to what's my purpose? What's my purpose? And my purpose is helping people. And so, I went to school for public health. I went to college for public health, and I was in San Francisco, and we were looking at these big problems. There was the drug epidemic, houseless populations, all sorts of things happening. I was like, oh my god, so many huge problems. But one thing that came over and over, everyone you talk to is like, my loved one's in a facility, somebody just had a stroke, we need family caregivers. Like, it wasn't the big issues, it's the thing right in front of you all the time. And so I was like, I need to get boots on the ground. So I became a caregiver, and I worked through, being a caregiver in people's homes, being with hospice patients. Then I got my CNA license. I worked in facilities. I passed meds. Did all the things till I became, in charge. If you just keep working your way up, then they just like, you're in charge. And then COVID happened, and I was like, oh, what great timing for me. So during COVID, I ran a facility, and we were very successful in keeping COVID out of the building. So nobody had
Mhm.
COVID, nobody died of
Yeah,
COVID. It was great in that way. But on the
yeah,
other side of things, the isolation, depression, mental health struggles that I saw were just enormous and painful and stressful. And so I was at a very low point during COVID, like most of us were. And I was like, how do I channel this? How do I channel the stress and the pain so that we can do better for folks? A lot of times in facilities and in people in their own home, they don't have anybody. They don't have the family and friends and support network you need in order to really expand your quality of life and your lifespan and live happy and healthy. And so I said,
thrive.
why are we
To
not talking
thrive.
about
It's
this
all about
earlier?
care. It's all about getting care done, not about having connections and enjoying
Yes.
people and spending
Yes.
time, just spending time doing
Yes.
things you like together. Like, here, help me clean the closet. Yeah,
Yes.
I could use
No,
your
it
help.
really
What do I
is
do with
like, I'm
this?
coming to your room for 7 minutes and I'm giving you this medication and asking you, "Did you swallow it?" and walking away. And so
Yes.
I was like, and a lot of families during that time were so stressed out because there was the separation.
Yeah.
And what I heard time and time again from a lot of the families was, what do I say to my kids right now? We can't come see grandma. We can't come see Aunt June. Like, and I said, we need to talk about it more. So, from all of that, I was like, I'm going to write a book, kids' book
Ta-da!
about long term care. And this idea is to spark conversations. So, the book is a great read, beautiful illustrations by illustrator Mary Matthews, that is just visually stunning. But besides that, sometimes we need a platform to have a conversation.
Mhm.
And sometimes when you have a book in front of you and you're reading it together, this is a read together book, age 5
Mhm.
plus. So read with your adult, whoever your adult person is.
Yep.
That's the moment you have the conversations. You can say, for me, as Grandma Minnie has dementia, she's on her journey. It might look different. Our relationship is going to change. Her care needs are going to change. That's how you have that conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. And what you'll probably be for grandma many, many times, my son, my daughter, is that bright light that lights her up. I'm
Yes.
going to be a bit different probably because we've had a different relationship and she may be mean to me because I'm not doing what she thinks I should. And
Yeah.
that may be hard, but you'll be that shiny thing. So,
Yes.
I'm going to ask a big favor of you.
Yeah.
And we talk about big favor.
Yeah.
Would you take in your doll and sit on the floor and let her watch you play with the doll? Because, that's going to be, I think she's really going to like that.
Yeah.
And that will start us off. What do you think about that?
Yes.
And so your book actually allows kids not only, it's not just what's cool. Now I'm an OT, background wise. And so what I love about your book is not just looking book. It's
Yes.
not just a talking book. It's
Mhm.
actually a doing book.
Yeah.
You have things kids can do with the stuff related to the book, to tell
Yeah.
stories, to actually do things. Because you have cutouts that
Hmm.
can actually be used to do
Yes.
things. So kids that are young can actually move and says, she said this, and I
Hmm.
said this, and I'm going to take, and so you can actually do lots of different things with this
Hmm.
book.
Yeah.
And you were inspired to do this because of a legacy project.
Yes.
We call them legacy projects. You have a legacy. You want to make sure that things are the way they are, but they don't need to be that way. So how do
Hmm.
we make them different? Well, we take action,
Yes.
and our action will change what is into what's possible. But only if we then do the action and then get others to do the action.
Yes.
So the
Exactly.
reason you're here is not just because you did it. It's like to get more to happen from it, which is why we do what we do too.
Yep.
Because
I see it
I
as like every day a little bit, every day a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more.
you put it out there, and even if you just get one mind to go, ooh, that's really curious, I'm going to get that book and just try it, see what it
Yes.
says. I'm going to
Yes.
go to the library and ask the library to get a copy of that book. I
Hmm.
mean, there's all different routes people might take. I'm going to go to the long-term care where my grandma is and ask them to get 5 copies of that book.
Exactly.
I'm gonna talk to the person who the ombudsman and say, do you
Hmm.
guys have books for kids about
Hmm.
long-term care? Well, I need one. Can you see if you could? I've heard this one,
Hmm.
this idea that we can be advocates in spaces and places that we don't necessarily realize need advocacy.
Yes.
Um, and yet, if it's not us, who will it be? I know that I had numbers of people when I was a young adult say, oh my God, you work in a nursing home?
Oh my God, me too.
Oh, oh, they smell like urine, that people are all tied up. It's really awful. It's like,
Hmm.
okay, so you have a history, huh?
Yeah.
Um, and I would say there are places that I still would not want to necessarily spend a lot of my time. But here's the thing, those are only going to change if we start helping people see there are places that is not the case. And there
Yes.
are lots of those places. So what do we need to do? We need to change the norm, and then we need to change the standard, and then we need to move things into different spaces, because there are different spaces that are available. There are wonderful people in
Yeah.
places that are doing good things.
Yes.
And, and then there's some that aren't so good. But what sometimes guides people is old memories that they have that are inaccurate.
Yeah, one phenomenon that's happening is when I go to a bookstore or I'm in a facility and I show somebody the book, they immediately have this reaction that takes them to their story. And
Mhm.
whether their story is positive or negative, a lot of the time it's very stressful and sad. And they're like, let me tell you, my loved one was in this facility and this thing happened and she fell and blah, blah, blah. It goes straight to them. And so it's like people want to talk about it. They have this inside of them. They want to talk about it. We need to
And
have more
so a
conversation
kid's
about it.
book is not always a kid's book. It's a
Yes.
kid's book, and it ends up an opportunity to let out some pain, get rid of some
Mhm.
pain, share something to lessen it, and to actually then move forward into. So I wonder if you have any grandkids now, and if they should ever need to come see you in a community. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe you're going to plan for it all to happen at home. And I hope that happens. But there are a lot of folks that they thought that was what was going to happen. That's for sure. And then things happened and it was different than they envisioned. And I'd
Yeah,
rather
I,
have.
I I really think like Teepa, like one goal of this book is just to give people a conversation starter, but also for them to know there are many pathways through long-term care. And it might not look exactly how you think it's going to look or how you planned it to look, because life is a wild ride and we never know what's going to happen. And so we should know about all of the settings and all of the people that work there and all the help you can get.
Yeah. And not think it's this or it's that, because that's not it. It's either this or something else, or it's something else or something else or something else.
Mhm.
And the idea that what your book promotes is there's lots of things behind doors, but let's
Mhm.
open the door. Let's not be worried about what's behind the door. Let's open and look. Let's talk.
Yes.
Let's meet. Because by doing that, we have a better appreciation for what's possible. And
Yes.
we're into what's possible.
Yes.
So Jenny, thank you. And Matthew is making sure, as Matthew always does, that how to connect to you, how to ask you questions, how to get info from you, but also how to find the book is
Yeah.
readily available with this conversation. So for those of you out there who have kids, who have grandkids, who are in community, who would like to have things available for other people or for people you care about or for yourself, take
Mhm.
this opportunity, consider how what you do today could impact someone in the future or later on today, and take an action.
Yeah.
Until next time, take care with your care. Bye, everybody. Thanks, Jenny.
Bye. Thank you.